The Last of Us is by far one of my favorite game franchises of all time, even though it's only comprised of 2 games so far. I love the first game and the second game to an insane degree, and I've reviewed both of them. But there's one missing piece of the puzzle, that being the DLC for the first game known as Left Behind. Left Behind follows 2 different time periods, which adds a lot of variety to this short expansion. One part of it tells the tale of Ellie's experience with her friend Riley a while before her journey with Joel, and we're even shown how she got her infamous bite and ended up surviving it. The other part of the story fills part of the gap between fall and winter in the base game, showing some of Ellie's struggles to keep Joel alive despite his injuries. Winter is by far my favorite part of the original game, so I welcome more of it with open arms, and seeing some of Ellie's origin is also really satisfying for a fan of the series, such as myself. This DLC only lasts for around 2, maybe 3 hours at most, and I managed to beat it in 2 sittings on the hardest difficulty, and I definitely could have done it in 1 sitting if I wanted to, but in spite of its simplicity and short length, I've played through Left Behind a staggering 4 times, once on easy, once on normal, once on hard, and once on survivor. I've experienced pretty much all that it has to offer, getting every trophy and collectible for it, and I didn't do that just because I was bored, but rather because Left Behind is really something special. A lot of games that I love, like Horizon Zero Dawn, have DLCs that I find to be incredibly disappointing, but this is very different from those. It manages to be presented with the same elegance as all other Last of Us products, with many emotional highlights, tense gameplay segments, and charming moments crammed into it in spite of its length. The gameplay and visuals are on par with the first game in pretty much every way, except we only play as Ellie and have a few moments like this water gun fight which switch things up a little bit. Playing as Ellie in the first game felt a little bit lame because of how weak she was, but it led to the best story moments in the game which made up for it definitely. However, in Left Behind, the design has been tweaked a little bit more to make every encounter a desperate scramble for survival, where you'll be praying for items like bricks and bottles, which weren't very important at all for Joel. I enjoyed my time with the gameplay, but what really makes this DLC stick out isn't the combat, the puzzles, or the visuals, even though they are great, but rather the story. The story here isn't on par with either of the full Last of Us games, but the fact that I can even compare them says a lot about Left Behind. The story with Ellie searching for medical supplies to use on Joel is tense, but since she's the only character in it, it's not very deep. However, her interactions with Riley are masterfully crafted. Practically every single one of their conversations, whether up to the player or in a cutscene, are very charming and are bound to put a smile on your face and really get you invested in both of these characters. Ellie was already a great character in the first game, but this DLC really fleshes her out further and gives her a chance to make yet another large impact on the story, and it's done flawlessly. These cutscenes with her and Riley are charming and a treat to go through, but it's really the ending that shot this DLC to being one of my favorites of all time. For pretty much the whole experience, it's been light and fun, at least in this storyline, but as the drama between these 2 characters reaches its highest point and begins to fall ever so slightly, the action kicks in and leaves us with an incredible, poetic final scene. Even though the characters do 1 or 2 dumb things like play music on a speaker in a mall that could very well have infected in it, I think this story manages to do the impossible and capture one of the franchise's strongest points, that being the ending scenes that leave you with an odd, unexplainable feeling. When I beat the first game and the second game, I was left with this emotion of emptiness that I can't describe, not because the game felt unfinished, but because it had taken part of me with it on an amazing journey and would never return it. The experiences to be found within these stories are some of the most unforgettable in all of gaming, heck, in all of media, and even in a 2-hour DLC, it manages to achieve this. And as the credits begin to roll with one of the best songs in the whole series, it becomes apparent that in a short period, you still experienced a life-changing piece of gaming media. It may have taken me 4 playthroughs to see it, but I finally recognized the genius of The Last of Us Left Behind. A few dumb character moments, problems carried over from the first game, and minor pacing issues may stop it from being perfect, but I'd be lying if I said this isn't a must-play.
every second we get to spend with each other. Whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, we don't give that up.
Newspaper headline reads, "Cartoonist found dead at home. Details are sketchy." Yes.
That's cute.
Oh man, I love this book.